Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank God it's Friday.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
This has been a wonderful yet productive long week.
Yes.
And when we hit Friday, you know what that means, right? It's another edition of the Community CareSouth Carolina Community Live Podcast. And
And you
I'm
better
with
know it.
Ms. Mark Calhoun, Director of Social and Community Service, with my partner in crime.
This is Daniel Myers, Director of MAT SUD Substance Abuse Services over here at CareSouth Carolina.
All
Yes.
right. That's a long title, bro.
I know, man. I know. We're going to try to work on that to try to get things a little bit
That's
shorter.
fine.
Yeah,
Uh-huh. Just
yeah,
I mean, I ain't it's not like mine is short or anything, but
yeah.
listen, today, as you see, we have quite a few guests with us today, and today is a very special day. But
Mhm.
what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get out the way, and I'm gonna allow them to introduce themselves and tell you why they're here and what this day what this day is.
Go
I'm
ahead.
on
Yeah,
tongue tied today. That was you last week. It's me
that
this
was
week.
me.
So,
That was me.
yeah. So I'm gonna step out the way and allow them to, like I said, introduce themselves and tell you why they're here. So y'all have the floor.
All right. So am I going first? I am Latoya McGuinn. I am the site administrator at our Sherrod office of CareSouth here in Sherrod, South Carolina. We're here today to discuss diversity, culture, and inclusion in the workplace. As Marek said, or Daniel said earlier, he happened to choose the perfect day to do this. It's World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development in
Yeah.
2021. The workplace has certainly become a rainbow and a diverse area across the country. We run into different ethnicities, different just diverse all around. So we want to make sure that everyone in the workplace feels included, no one feels excluded, and we are trying to move forward at CareSouth to meet that goal. So let's get this conversation started, guys. Who's next?
I can go. Yeah, certainly. My name is Thomas Bradham, and I'm a pharmacist with CareSouth. And I just wanted to say how thankful I am to work for an organization that celebrates diversity and inclusivity. I just want to say, being a gay pharmacist, I'm so thankful because some are not in South Carolina, that there are no repercussions for being who I am and feeling very safe being at work. So for that, I'm very thankful, and I look forward to, talking with folks within the organization who may have questions, and please, I'd love to be a resource for all. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Brandy Hare, and I am a traveling dentist with CareSouth. I'm super excited to be hanging out with Marek and Daniel this lovely Friday morning, and also excited to be participating in this podcast with this lovely council, the CareSouth Carolina Inclusion Council. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kelly Taylor. I'm the Agricultural Health Outreach Specialist with CareSouth. Happy to be here and celebrating this special day and be with this amazing group of people.
Go ahead, Shannon.
Oh, I'm Shannon Freeman. I'm the payroll posting specialist here at the corporate office. I'm also honored to be on the council to help improve our already awesome organization as much as we can, understanding each other and helping our patients.
And I'm Shanika Pygott. I am Deputy Operations Officer, and I'm actually the chair of the Inclusion Council. And I'm just happy to be here and to work with these group of people. And what I just want to say about CareSouth, our mission is to enhance the health and well-being of everyone. And that's the key word, everyone. And we work to do that, and we want everyone to receive the exact same quality health care. And we want also our staff to know that we care about them as well. And so I'm just happy to be here so we can have this discussion. And last but not least, our wonderful CEO, Ann Lewis.
Hey, folks. It really is an honor, and I really appreciate Marek and Daniel letting these folks and us have an opportunity on this podcast. You know, this reaches an awful lot of people. I am the CEO. Let me tell you a little bit of the background on this and where our thinking is and why on earth does CareSouth Carolina have an inclusion council. So I know you remember 2006, June. One of the most tragic days in our state and in our nation. And it really profoundly impacted so many of us. Frankly, with the Mother Emanuel events, I personally felt, and the board of directors at CareSouth Carolina really backed this up, that the mission and the vision and truly the heart of CareSouth was rooted in the origins of the community health center movement, which was a movement for justice, a movement for equity, a movement to address all of the social and health disparities that had plagued our country, and particularly our populations that have grown to be many, whether they're non-white or LGBTQ or green or purple or what have you. So we began, I would really say that the intentional aspect of this journey began then. We were kind of new at this. We kind of floundered around and tried to think, where do we go from here? We looked at first taking a mindful approach to our own individual intrinsic biases. We used a tool developed by Harvard and very evidence-based for folks to look at there and become aware. We all have biases. You know, we all live with that, but being mindful and being aware is a step in our own personal growth. So we sort of began that in that manner, and then we went through a lot of shall we say, education. We brought folks in. Ms. Lathrop Woodard, the CEO at the South Carolina Primary Healthcare Association, came in and spoke to us, and we had a lot of realizations, a lot of growth around that. Then a couple of years ago, the Institute for Healthcare Improvement has a branch that is called the Leadership Alliance. And this Leadership Alliance, we were one of the original folks who stepped up and joined that, but it is entities from all across the United States, and even over the last few years has become almost international. Well, folks began to start talking about whether we could, as a nation, approach reaching the triple aim. The triple aim, if you are not aware of it, is addressing the patient experience, addressing the cost of health care, and addressing the population health, things like the whole approaches to diabetes and hypertension. Well, the more we began working on this, and these are some organizations that are just mammoth. I mean, they're like Children's Cincinnati. It's pretty intimidating sometimes to sit with some of these folks. As we started looking at that, many of us, especially those of us that are in areas where we have a large minority population, begin to say, folks, you're not going to make any progress on this until we start very intentionally looking at health disparity. There was a lot of head scratching going on, and darn if we didn't get some traction. So we formed a work group to address health equity. Initially, that was our focus. And then they had the mistake of asking me to co-chair that work group. And you know me, I'm going to let my thoughts be known. I'm not going to keep silent about anything. And I said, if we're going to address health equity, we need to address institutional racism at the same time. We have to be upfront. We have to be acknowledging these issues. And we have to, as organizations, make the commitment, not only in health, but in our own institutions, barriers addressing racism. This was awesome. You would not believe the organizations that stepped up on this, that said, we're there, we're going to do this. Teams were formed, and then, of course, COVID came along. We had a little bit of a hiatus there for a little while, but we came back together. Shanika joined our team. Denise Ellis is on our own CareSouth team. Tim has joined us also on this work. Who am I leaving off? I think that's the core group of our team. And we really began this work. The most important part of this work is that we share senselessly amongst each other, and we steal shamelessly. So I started hearing about these groups called inclusion councils that were some of these large organizations, Inova, University of Missouri, University of New Mexico. All these big groups were talking about organizing within their institutions these groups, and they did go by some different names, but Inclusion Council was one that I seemed to resonate quite a bit with. And I started thinking, we need this. We really need this at CareSouth. I went to Shanika. We started talking about this. And from that point on, it's history. The work that is going on, even in the midst of the pandemic, even with so many things on our plate, this has become a real fruitful discussion. And the thing is, it's going to grow. I can just see where we've got so much opportunity. I want to let y'all know that it's not only CareSouth, it's not only the Leadership Alliance at the Institute for Healthcare Improvement. This discussion is beginning to take nationwide roots. I serve on this very same committee in my own church. I serve on an anti-racism committee. And it is so exciting to see folks that have never had these discussions or never confronted their own intrinsic biases. Now we're beginning to think this through and to start thinking about the impact that it's had on our communities, the impact that 400 years of racism has had with economically, socially, not just healthcare. These are conversations that are, in my opinion, so much needed and is going to be so exciting. So as we move forward in this Inclusion Council and then this discussion, I can only say so many thanks to Shanika and all the rest of you and all the rest of the Inclusion Council. You are powerful. You are so important. And you have been so honest and giving and transparent. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank each and every one of you. And thank Marek and Daniel for letting their voices be heard on this blog, on this Facebook Live. So I'm going to relinquish the microphone. I could talk forever, and I'm not going to do it. So y'all have a wonderful, wonderful discussion. And praise be to you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Leanne.
All right.
Okay.
Wow. That was a great introduction and explanation as to, not only why y'all are here, but who y'all are. And thank you for coming and choosing this platform to have this important discussion on this important day. So I want to turn it over to whomever to begin that discussion.
Shanika, go ahead and take it. Go ahead and take the wheel, Shanika. Take the wheel. Take it. Take it. It's yours. Drive it.
Drive it. Okay, well, first I'd like to say thank you again to the both of you for allowing us to come today. As we've already stated, I think Latoya already mentioned, today is World Day for Cultural Diversity, for development and dialogue. It's actually set by the United Nations. So it's good that we're having this today. I just want to say we have an Inclusion Council, as Ann has already said, has been around since last year, and we actually have 30 members that come from different backgrounds, different cultures, and not just a diversity of just cultures and backgrounds, but also professional backgrounds. If you look at the screen, we have management, we have clinical care, we have outreach, we have payroll, we got pharmacists. So, and we have nurses on our team, we have behavioral health counselors on our team, we have maintenance on our team. We have representation from every part of the organization on the Inclusion Council. And so we've come together, and one of the things we've recently been really working on is having a shared understanding of certain terms, diversity, inclusion, belonging, equity. We actually, as Ann said, we steal and we share. So we heard that at another organization, how they were having this understanding of all these definitions across their organization. So we thought, oh, well, let's do that at CareSouth. And so this group, I want to thank this group. We came together and we actually formulated our own definitions. We didn't just take what Webster or dictionary.com told us what those words mean. We took we may have referred to them, but we took our own words and we put it all together. And what can we say those words mean? And so we have those definitions, and I'll read each one, and then we can go into detail about each one and have some discussion around them. So these 4 words, and let me add, we're actually going to make a video. We as a council, we're actually going to make a video sharing these words. We're going to share this with the organization, because like I said, this is for CareSouth Carolina, and what our understanding of belonging and inclusion and diversity and equity is. So, council, you ready? Okay, so let's start with diversity. So we defined, we understand diversity to mean is a representation of communication, variety, melting pot, including sexual orientation, gender, age. It's all inclusive, race, religion, and ethnicity. So how else did we, when we had our discussions about diversity, we want to add to that? Y'all unmute. Y'all can't be silent now. Y'all had a lot. Everybody had a lot to say when we were coming up with these.
Shanika, could you read that again so we can just get a clear understanding of that definition again?
Sure. At CSC, we exemplify diversity. For us, diversity is defined by representation of communication, variety, melting pot, sexual orientation, gender, age, all inclusive, race, religion, and ethnicity.
So I think basically what you're saying is that we embrace the idea of having a variety, which means, I mean, whenever I go to Sam's, I just don't go and get like the chips, the Lay's. I don't just get the plain, but I get the variety pack, because my taste buds may be different from one day to the next, and variety suits every appetite. And so I think CareSouth is here for that purpose. We want to make sure that everybody can get what they need, regardless of who they are, how they look, sexual preference, or anything, and they feel like, okay, this is mine. They take ownership of it. That's just me.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so I think Latoya should say something, because she's first of all, she said I wasn't cool last week. So we're gonna go ahead and throw that back out there. So I'm gonna let her go ahead and say what she wanted to say on that, because I saw her looking like she wanted to say something.
Thank you, Daniel. You're still not cool though. So To expand upon that, I guess one of the words that I chose when we made that definition was communication. And I'll take a moment to expand upon that if that's okay. Because I feel like a lot of times communication styles are different amongst different cultures. Sometimes patients are misunderstood, or sometimes patients don't understand what has been explained to them, for instance, in a doctor's appointment. So, providers may need to take the time to break down and speak to them in clearer terms versus, using medical jargon and stuff like that. As far as the workplace is concerned, I know that being in corporate America as an African American woman, I have experienced being perceived as aggressive, or something as simple as I have to watch, facial expression, tones, and things as such. Just sometimes me being attentive and just paying attention and, a serious face, listening to what's being said to me is being misconstrued as me having an aggressive, expression on my face, when that's not the case at all. Or even, sometimes just being candid and direct and maybe not in agreement with something that's going on. And if I express that comes out perceived as being aggressive. So that was one of the reasons I chose the word aggressive, because I feel like sometimes just our communication styles are misunderstood, amongst different cultures and speaking to each other. And sometimes it pigeonholes people and, puts the reputation on them that's not accurate, simply because they were misunderstood in the way they were trying to express what they were saying. So that was a word that I chose to be in that definition. And that was my thought process behind that. Nice. So that's all I have to say right now.
So yeah,
Tim, we can't hear you.
Tim, we can't hear you. You muted.
You muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah,
that was very important, Latoya. I think that as a provider, when I'd see providers, I'd feel as though they were talking at me and not to me. And I think that's very important. And even you can see it in patients' faces. They know you're really talking to them and caring about them and not at them like generic, in a generic way, just talking blah, 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 but talking to them and really caring about them. That communication means a lot.
It does.
And diversity means, you got to have a variety of people in the room, because you don't know what you're saying may be offensive to another group. So you got everybody looking the same, and something you say that may be offended, may offend someone, but you don't have enough variety in there, then you're going to put that out, then you're going to embarrass yourself and bring trouble against your institution by putting it out. That's why you need as much diversity in the room as possible.
Right.
Being able to be out in the community and see firsthand how the patients feel, not only us as an employees and being part of CareSouth, but being able to see the difference of how everybody perceives our roles, and to hear that they feel comfortable with our providers and that they can have that relationship where they feel understood, where they feel that they are listened to, even though with a lot of them it's a language barrier. So it's great to say that we come to CareSouth and we are able to communicate and be as a family at the end of the day.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Wow. I like that communication piece of it. Very important. And what Tim said is so true, because if you're talking at me and not to me, it becomes very offensive. And at that point, I'm tuning you out. So therefore, I'm not hearing anything you said about my health, right? Because you've already offended me. I don't want to listen to you anymore, right? And by by me not listening, I'm sure I've missed something very important that I probably should have heard, but now I didn't hear it because we have this communication rift between us.
Right.
Very, very great topic. Very great.
Right.
And Marek, I want to say something since we got other people listening. That whenever we, I guess, like Tim said and Latoya said, whenever we're dealing, and Kelly, whenever we're dealing with people, we don't know their educational background, and so it's important that we keep our information that we give to them as simple as possible. So the KISS principle is very, very important. You know, if you start using big words, just because you're the most educated person in the room, don't mean you have to be the most educated person in the room. Okay, that's understood by your name on the door. So it's a lot of times we have to dumb ourselves down a little bit to reach people at that level of understanding, and stop trying to be so out there, and just be empathetic is what I'm trying to say. Meet me where I am. You know, don't try to be above me. Meet me where I am, and I can receive you better.
Daniel, the one thing I found out about since I've been working here is when you're saying using big words, I don't know what a big word is anymore, because it's big to some and small to others. I don't know who knows. I'm amazed, but big word to me, I don't use it anymore because the education levels, they vary so much, and especially in small community. So you don't know, you have to really break it down, That's one thing that shocked me.
That's right.
You have to be able to communicate so that everyone can understand this, you know, make it as, you know, things as simple as possible. And now, as we were talking about diversity, I just want to add this, and it may have already been said, but it's just staying with me, is the more we get to know about each other's culture, and education is so important. I'm a big proponent about education. The more we get to know about each other's culture, then we'll know how to communicate, you know, with each other. And if we look at the screen of just who's on this screen, you know, we've got Kelly, you know, who can, you know, help educate us with, you know, the Hispanic community. We've got Thomas can help educate us with LGBTQ community. You know, we have, you know, if we educate ourselves, you know, we can cross over some barriers, knock some barriers out the way, because that's what we want to do as an organization. We want to knock barriers out the way. And so I just believe that communication and educating yourselves will help you be educating ourselves will help us be better communicators. That's right.
That's right. And Shanika, you know, while you was naming them groups, you really left out the most important group, which is the cool group, and I represent those as well.
Next definition.
Put that on out there, okay?
Next definition.
I don't even need the air conditioning. How I'm so cool. So go ahead.
Next definition. He thinks he's Mars Day. Okay.
Somebody.
Inclusion at CareSouth. Inclusion is intentional representation by including every voice and respecting their differences. So with this definition, we have to remember voice. And I really got to credit Anne and Denise with adding that word voice in that. Hey, Julius is on too. Bridget, I got to add Bridget to Keisha, and Julius are on watching as well. They're members too. With inclusion, you know, and Anne gave a great example of this in a conversation. You know, you can have people at the table that it's inclusion, you know, they're at the table, but their voice at the table is important too. And so I was thankful for them for adding that word voice in, because we want people to feel like not only are they included, but they have a voice. That's just like with this council, you know, we're all here, but each one of us, all 31 of us, I said 30, I've left myself out, 31. Your voice is important. So voice is very important when it comes to inclusion. And the word intentional has to be intentional.
Yes, I was going to say the word intentional is the one word that I really appreciate about this definition, because, you know, it's so easy to go day to day. You're just living your life, and there are different actions that you can portray that aren't exuding inclusion. So you definitely have to be intentional with every single action, every single word that you allow to cross your mouth when you're interacting with patients, with staff, whomever. You have to be intentional in incorporating inclusion into every single aspect.
Yeah, you know, I remember going to school and being a part of a group of guys that used to be around. And I was always a part of that group of guys, but I never felt like I was included in anything because, you know, I was never asked to say anything. I was just like a tag along. But once they got to know who I was and they thought I brought some value to the table, then I was able to include myself. And then I felt a part of the team. Just being in the same room doesn't make me included, but being a part of the conversation makes me included. So my voice can be heard. And I like like Dr. Harris said, it's important that that hearing part and that voice part is stands out more.
You know, Dr. King said that one of the worst kinds of racism is invisibility. It's like two people talking and they don't even realize that you're there. Or they talking over you, or not even looking at you, don't even acknowledge you. And he said that is one of the worst kinds of racism is invisibility. I'd rather you disrespect me and not even know I'm even there. You know, and that is so true, Daniel. What you're talking about, you can be in the same room, but don't act like you're not even there.
That's right. Yeah. Wow. Come on, somebody, speak up.
How do you want to move on to belonging?
Yeah, I was going to say that this definition of inclusion kind of eases right into the belonging.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a good transition.
At CareSouth, we strive to be successful at inclusion by building relationships through listening, understanding, empathy, and compassion.
Wow. Yeah, that's the only way I will feel belong. If there was empathy, which means you understand my mission, you understand my plight, you understand my struggles, you sympathize with me because you've been there, and and so you understand my pain as well. But also embracing me, embracing my culture, embracing my differences, and making me feel like I'm a part of this. In all aspects, not just. And this is where the voice is not only the most important key, but also part of that, which is the lock which ties everything together. You see me. You see me and you make me fit in. It's like a puzzle. Every puzzle has pieces, and a piece can only fit where it's allowed to fit. It has to fit where it belongs. You can't put a piece of puzzle where it doesn't belong. But in that whole puzzle, I have a piece, and that makes me feel like I belong there.
I think we have to be careful with that empathy part, especially with me. Even with me, I find that I have an issue with it. Is the fact that I heard President Obama say one time, sometimes we have empathy deficit, meaning that we forget people like me and Daniel. He and I talked about this. We came up hard, came up struggling. We were poor in money wise, not poor in education or religion or respect, that kind of thing. But guys that was raised up with us, went to the same school, same type food, same type everything. Why didn't you make it? And we made it somewhat, some degree, some material substance, and you don't have anything. We don't have any empathy. We tend not to have any empathy for them because we know where they come from. We came from the same place they did. So sometimes you have empathy deficit when you came from the struggle with them, and you it's hard for you to figure out why they hadn't done what you've done.
And so, Tim, I think in those aspects we replace empathy with judgment, and that's what excludes people.
And I've been guilty of that. Yeah.
Right. So we bring judgment in the case, and that destroys the whole concept of what we're trying to do, making people feel belong. And so we have to leave judgment at the door.
Absolutely.
And so.
Yeah. And another thing about belonging, nowhere in this definition does it say that I absolutely have to agree with you. We want to understand, we will listen, we will empathize, we'll have compassion, but that in no way, shape or form says 100% I will agree with you all the time. So just understanding that there will be differences, there will be diversity when it comes to different aspects of life. That's a key component of belonging, understanding that there will be differences.
And that's a good point, Dr. Hare, because as we mature and knowing each other's cultures and each other's backgrounds and everything, we understand that we can disagree with maturity, which means we don't have to see eye to eye with everything, but we do have a common knowledge that we want to know how to be better, once we learn from each other.
That's right.
Powerful discussion. Powerful discussion.
But you know, Murray, I had to go, you know, because it's lunchtime, close to lunchtime. And when Shanika said that, my mind was already thinking about food. And so I thought she said bologna.
Leave it to
I'm just playing. Y'all go ahead.
I really feel like this Inclusion Council is a step in the right direction. CareSouth made a great decision with forming this council to make sure that you know, we all do have a sense of inclusion and belonging. They want to hear us. They want our voices to be heard. And I applaud CareSouth, and I'm glad to be part of an organization that wants to make sure that everyone that works here feels like they are welcomed and they are heard and included. So I really appreciate that.
And that by having that trickles down to our patients, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Absolutely.
That's right. And I think a big part of this council is that not only the CareSouth do this, but a lot of times some corporations, some companies start a group, and the group is just for show. And then there's nothing really being done on the back burner, but we have the name of Inclusion Council because it looks good to people. But actually having working parts in this council, actually having working parts in this program it makes me feel included because, you know, y'all ask me, Daniel, what do you think? You know, my opinion matters to this council, and my opinion matters to CareSouth. So we know it's a working organism, and it's growing. So that's a wonderful thing about this council. You're right.
Daniel, I read some places where some companies spend more money promoting that they're doing it than they actually doing it.
That's right.
Yeah, they want you to see it and talk about it, but they're not really doing anything. They spend more money talking about it.
That's right.
Right. And that's why I also ask each member to please spread the word. Let people know that you are a member of the council, you know, so that if they have any concerns or thoughts or just ideas, they can share with you that you can bring to the table. Or they can email you, or they can email any of us, you know, and share any ideas, thoughts of what we could do to promote diversity, inclusion, belonging, and equity. Equity. Mm-hmm. So at CareSouth, we are dedicated to fair treatment of our patients, and staff by going the extra mile to remove barriers to meet their needs. We find a way to get it done. Shannon, I think you had some in that definition.
I think that was just always trying to make sure we treat everybody the exact same and respecting those differences that each and every one of us have. So.
I agree. My thing that has always been with me since I've been with CareSouth, and that's why this council is great, because really this has always really been in CareSouth DNA, that you want quality care from everyone, from someone who walks in that might be a CEO to someone who walks in that might be homeless. It doesn't matter. Everyone is entitled to get good health care, quality health care, and to be treated. And we want to work to make sure that we reduce any disparities. Like right now, we're working to reduce the disparity in hypertension. Right now, we have a population, our hypertension population is mostly African American, but the numbers are better for our white counterparts. And so we're working to reduce that disparity. And so that's actually one of our goals. You heard Ann talk about IHI earlier. That's one of our goals with them, to reduce that disparity. And we hope to have that disparity down to zero over the next couple of years. And so we've been working on that. So we just, and there's a picture that I don't know if you all have seen it, about equity, where there are three people looking over a fence, and one is standing on the ground, one is a little bit shorter, the other one's standing on the box. But and there's so many different forms of the picture, but the one that is the best one is where the fence is moved out of the way. So we want the barriers moved out of the way to healthcare. What is it? You know, and I think, Mark, your department does, you know, a lot of work in that, and, you know, make sure patient, if transportation is a barrier, then, you know, you work on getting that patient, you know, transportation, just whatever it is that we can do to help that patient to be able to get the care that they need. And it's more than just medication. There are a lot of social determinants out there that keep patients from being able to get the care they need. And anyone that knows me knows I believe in taking care of the patient. Take care of that patient. That patient walks in your door, you take care of the patient, regardless.
Yeah. And you know, Shanika, as a nurse, we have to go through look-alike words, right?
Yes.
There's a lot of words that look alike. And so when you look at equity, you look at equality, they look a lot alike. So people just automatically put them in the same category. But just want to read something real quick. It says equity has to do with giving everyone the exact same resources. I mean, equality does. Whereas equity involves distributing resources based on the needs of the recipients.
The need.
And the only way we're going to know the need is we learn how to communicate with the people that we're talking to. And we put ourselves in a place where people will conversate back with us and express their needs to us. And so if a person don't feel welcome, if a person don't feel like they belong, if a person don't feel included, they're not going to talk. We're never going to know what their deficits are. And so we have to make ourselves available and transparent enough so that people want to talk to us and let us know what their needs are. And that'll take care of the equity part of it.
Right.
We do have a great team when it comes to that. Great team working with Marek. We go to our patients directly. Or like in my case, I will receive a call from another patient saying this person is just not comfortable enough letting us know because they might be new, because they don't know us, but they are in our community. So it's not just the one that it's already in the door. It's us going to our community and taking the time to know the people that is around us and what really is the need in the community, not only by the time they get to our doors and they're sick. We're going to them and addressing all of their needs beforehand. And CareSouth has not only great programs, but I can say a lot of our staff, it's very helpful because we have patients that need a lot of things, especially the community I personally work with the most, which is our agriculture workers, where they need things that probably our programs might not cover, but we are able to take the fence out of the way and come together and give them a little bit of something that we're able to provide as an individual, not just only because our job required to assist. So it's taking the fence out of the way, is getting that connection with the community, not only our patients that are already at the door, but our community itself, which is very important. And that's what allows us to be more open to new people. We have people that come into our state, hundreds of people every few months. And being able to address their needs when they just arrive, it makes a big difference. And it helps others see that we're here for them, regardless of their race or regardless of where they might come from or their work. It's great to see that we are working to help everybody see what we do past just opening our doors to the community.
Wow. And thank you for putting the graphic up. This is the graphic that I was referring to. But that's what we do. We want, this is showing everyone being able to see over the fence, but we want to move that fence out the way completely.
Well, I think equality is good. Good, right? But also with equality, if you put equality and equity together, I mean, it makes for a perfect situation. Not only giving me what everybody else got, but giving me what I need to help me exceed, you know, get to the place where I need to be. So it always go back to meeting us at our point of need. And so we have to know the needs of a person.
Right.
Because if I'm hungry and you give me cereal, and but I don't like the kind of cereal you gave me. But you gave all of us the same kind of cereal. If I can't eat that because I'm allergic to wheat, then you've given me what everybody else got, but it still didn't meet my need. So communicating with me, knowing that I'm allergic to wheat, so give me something in addition to this to help me so I can be fed as well. So communication.
One of the other things that going above and beyond, we also have the dollar donation program that our employees contribute to. And we've actually just recently sent a meter and test strips to a patient. We sent a month's supply of Ensure because he needed it for his feeding tube and it doesn't work. And we usually turn those requests over pretty quickly once they come in from the provider. Mm-hmm. So that's another way we help our community when people, insurance or whatever, won't help.
I saw a great documentary on PBS early this week. And it was talking about inequalities in healthcare and the growing gap. And they compared 3 hospitals in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And 2 of them were sort of for profit. They were turning out a profit, but the one safety net hospital, they saw all the addicted ones, the ones that's on Medicaid, no insurance, homeless. They were going in the red. And actually they were losing. They were basically about to close the hospital. One of the problems are you got to be able to attract some people with insurance, some people with good insurance, younger people that can get in, get out, because it's a money thing. From you got to be able to operate, and that was their problem. They can't operate. Those other 2 hospitals were in better neighborhoods where people were working, younger, not as many health issues, and the people could get to the hospital. They were turning these other people away. Safety net had to take them, but they were about to lose out, and that's the big inequality thing. A lot of it is money and access. A lot of it is money and trying to run the organization. You got to have money to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Shanika.
Yes.
Am I live?
Yes.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say something too, and just piggyback on some of the things that Tia said and some of the other speakers. Within the LGBTQ community, I just wanted to say belonging. I just wanted to say, pharmacist, I'm one of the most accessible healthcare providers there is. You don't have to make an appointment to see me. So I just wanted to say, for a lot of patient population, I think it's important that they see someone and go, hey, I'm like them too. Because I remember growing up and being
Oh, we lost you.
Can you hear me?
There you go.
Okay, so what I was saying was, growing up, there were days when I thought, it's just me. I'm the only one feeling the way I'm feeling, and, I was born in 1975, so there weren't shows out there that had people like myself on it, Will and Grace or the Ellen Show, or what have you. So I think that's important within our organization, too, that they can see someone that is like them and say, hey, it's okay to be who I am, and I can go and talk to them and anyway. And, to talk about equality and equity, there was legislation, I don't know if y'all are aware of it, and forgive me if I missed the state, I think it's Kentucky, where they were saying, and there was legislation that would have been passed where a healthcare provider could have denied providing a patient who was gay or transsexual or however they were part of our community. They could refuse treatment to that patient and get away with it. So I just want you to be well aware that there is still legislation that's brought before, folks in our United States that can deny treatment to someone just because of who they are. So, yeah, I think the Classism Inclusion Council is so important, and spreading awareness about those kind of issues as well.
Hey, Thomas, during one of our previous meetings as a council, you talked some about pronouns and how that could possibly link to belonging.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to share more about that?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We've spoken before about how important pronouns are, and I was saying on a lot of our social media platforms, be it Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn even, you can clear pronouns. Like my pronouns are he, him, but, if we have a patient who identifies, as a female, but they were born a male, and you just want to make sure that you're getting the pronouns correct because it's so important to that person. And fortunately, like I said, a lot of platforms you're able to put those pronouns down, and it's a lot of our celebrities and whatnot are trying to bring some of those issues to the forefront. I know Demi Lovato, I think, was in the news recently for coming out as non-binary. So I think for those folks, and we just need to make sure we let that patient know that that is very important to us, because as we know, the mental health challenges we're facing, which is COVID alone, is enough, and especially if it's something they're dealing with their own gender or their sexual. Anyway, I look forward to continuing this discussion and raising awareness for those kind of issues.
And I just saw a comment come up a few minutes ago that said that classism is an even bigger cultural obstacle than racism, which that's a powerful statement. I do feel like the two overlapped. They certainly overlap because you have a larger population of minority cultures that are in lower class populations as well. The thing to remember, I saw a video not long ago. The word is the suffix ism is, that means a practice. They are systems, classism and racism. They're systems that are put in place to keep a certain, population of people, or in a particular group. When you think about all kind of isms, it's a group of people or some kind of system or practice. You have most of the time religions end in ism, Buddhism, Hinduism, things like that. So it's our nation, our government, it's time for them to step up and take these practices out of the way for people, because they were put there to keep people down and to keep people poor and to keep people behind. And I just wanted to comment on that because I saw that statement is very accurate. You have, they say it all the time. It's just like, they're doing more to make the rich succeed and doing more to make the poor stay where they are, So I felt like that was a pretty good statement that I saw down there. Just wanted to share that.
Absolutely.
And Latoya, whenever you add ism onto anything, it's really usually it's never a positive thing.
No,
it's usually all negative. And so and that's what the divide comes in, because if everything with ism on it is negative, then that means that there's something that's somebody who felt like they're more positive than the thing that they're doing. And so, and that's what keep us in. I guess back in the 70s and 50s and 60s, they had the red line thing where they used to separate the different neighborhoods and keep everybody separate. And so the classes wouldn't be inclusive. So everybody wouldn't be all inclusive. So we would stand out. So there would be separation. And so now it's hard to fight the system to bring everybody back into one unified community. And that's really, really hard. So,
absolutely, I'm glad she made that connection between the two. And she said they overlap and cross over, because oftentimes when you hear folks have a discussion around racism, it always leans towards is it racism or is it classism? But as you say, there's a relationship between the two, right? There's a relationship between the two, and sometimes it can be hard deciphering which is which. But there is that overlap in that relationship between the two. Absolutely.
I don't think a lot of people realize what true classism is in this country, because they truly looked at themselves. Every one of us hit a clock at least once a day here, if not all day long. But most of the money is controlled by maybe 1 or 2% of the people in this country. The rest of us have to scramble to get it. But you got some fool thinking they're in a higher class when they really are not. But if they really looked at it, there's only a few that's controlling all the income in this country.
Right.
Truly class. I mean, sometimes it can work in a reverse manner when you at a certain status, you have a certain position in a smaller community like where I live. They thinking that he thinks he's that, he thinks he's this, and if you don't let them have some of your resources, then you get dogged out. So it's kind of a dichotomy. Am I right, Sean?
You're right.
Yeah. It's kind of, it works both ways too. It's been tough living in a small town and working in one too. Yeah, this is where I'm from, and I love it, but it's been tough.
Yeah, and y'all have to remember now. Whenever just for a little sidebar, whenever Tim called me Sean, that's my name as well. That's my grow up name.
Grow up name.
Yeah,
play name.
Yeah. Daniel is my check name. That's the name that the eagle fly by. That's the check name. Yeah.
I was gonna say I thought we got a new member to the group.
No, that's me.
And I'm glad you said that, Tim, because just going back to what Shanika said earlier, at CareSouth, none of that means anything. We're gonna treat every patient the same.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's about equity. So
yeah. My sister-in-law just posted on Facebook before I got on the call. I thought that was an interesting take. She was at her child's doctor's office, and they referred her to a specialist, and her provider said to her, well, she mentioned to the provider, the specialist that you sent to us is over 2 hours away. And immediately the provider just replied, well, it's probably because the specialist we're sending you to, we had to find one that accepts Medicaid. She just automatically made that assumption, that my sister-in-law was on Medicaid, probably because she's Black, and just that was the first thing out of her mouth, right. And they live in Charlotte area. So I know she didn't have to go 2 hours to see a specialist, but that was her immediate response rather than, checking to see what the issue was or why she was being sent to a provider that was 2 hours away.
Right.
Didn't even try to listen. Didn't ask.
Nope.
Didn't care to listen.
Not at all.
And so I think that's why educating our staff as well, how to be sensitive to people, and don't just assume. For example, every time I go to the drive-through, because I do have a cool voice, right? Every time I go to the drive-through, I'm called. They always say, "No, ma'am, no, ma'am." But I can't help it because I have the light, sexy voice where they really don't understand. So but I think it's always good to never assume anything, right? So if you're not sure about something, you stay neutral. And if even when you think you're sure, educate yourself and ask questions before you make a statement. Right. That's very important. Okay.
Absolutely.
Don't say nothing, Latoya. Don't say nothing, Latoya.
I'm not. You must be going through the drive-through in your Michael Jackson voice or something. Is that what you're doing?
She want to be starting something, don't she?
Here it is. I'm bad.
Oh, I love it. This was a wonderful discussion. So before we close out, is there anything that you all, as members of the council, want to leave us with? The audience, the staff, our patients.
We're here.
Yes. Yeah.
We're here.
We're here, and I love you all. Yeah, and I love you all. And I just want, if there's anything I want to leave folks with, please, if you want to refer someone to me, just to talk, if there's someone that's like themselves or has any questions, I promise you I will make time for them. And I look forward to a discussion bit about, anything within the LGBTQ world. I'll do my best to, and resources, I'd love to refer them to. There's a great organization called the Trevor Project, which is a 24-hour hotline endorse and or suicidal thoughts or anything like that for a young person, and I'd be more than happy to refer them to that or any other kind of organization that I can.
Thank you.
Amen on that.
Huh?
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So we, on behalf of the CareSouth Carolina Community Live Podcast, we want to thank you all for coming on today and and giving us this important dialogue. It's very important that we have these conversations. That's the only way we're going to be able to attack racism and be more inclusive than to have these conversations. To be able to be willing to come on and talk about different cultures, different things that happen, talk about racism, how we can overcome it, talk about LGBTQ community and how we can be more accepting and more inclusive to those individuals as well as all other cultures. So we thank you for coming on today, being with us. You're always a friend of the show. If there's something's going on and you feel free to use this platform as a sounding board. Any of you are welcome to come back anytime. All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And y'all hang around after
Thank
we
you so
hang
much.
around for a minute after we sign off.
Okay.
Okay, we'll hang around.
I got patients I have to see. I got one waiting on me. I have to work.
Go take care of the patient here.
I work with CareSouth. I really do work. Me and Dr. Hare do.
Go take care of the
See you
patient.
later, Tim.
Yeah, all right.
Bye, Tim.
Again, thank you again for being here and being a beacon and light for the staff and the patients at CareSouth Carolina. So if you want to hear more about CareSouth Carolina and Inclusion Council, you can reach us at CareSouth Carolina on our webpage at www.caresouth-carolina.com, or you could call us at 866-498-0399. Again, that's www.caresouth-carolina.com. And we are also a partner of SD Thrive and South Carolina SNAP program. So if you want more information on how to sign up SNAP, please give us a call at the aforementioned contact information that I gave you earlier. So thank you again, and y'all have a wonderful Saturday and a wonderful Friday.
Friday.
Have a
We love
wonderful
Shannon
weekend.
today. It's Friday.
I know, right? And we'll see you again next Friday for the CareSouth Carolina Community Live Podcast.